I fought for 5 years. 5 long years in Afghanistan. And when I finally came home, I thought I'd be welcomed with open arms. But what I found wasn't love. It was a betrayal that knocked the air out of me. I came home to find my wife married to my best friend, with kids they had together. Kids that I thought were mine. How does a man survive that? How do you look at the life you gave everything for and realize it was nothing but a lie? When I left for Afghanistan, I didn't think much about how long I'd be gone. I didn't have time to think about anything other than the mission. You don't think about what you're leaving behind. You just do your job. But when I finally got that call, the one that said I was coming home, I couldn't help but think of Samantha and the life I was going back to. I was excited, you know. I had this whole fantasy in my head about what it would be like when I walked through that door. I imagined Samantha would be there, welcoming me back with open arms. We'd hug, I'd hold our son, and everything would feel normal again. After all, 5 years is a long time to be away from the people you love. So I pictured that moment, and in my mind, it was perfect. But nothing prepared me for the moment when I stepped through that door. I didn't even knock. I didn't need to. The door was open, and I could hear them. I thought maybe it was just a coincidence. David's voice, from the living room, laughing like everything was normal. I walked in, and I froze. At first, I thought I was hallucinating. Maybe it was the shock of coming back after all these years. But no, it wasn't a dream. It was real. My wife, Samantha, sitting on the couch with David. My best friend, the man who was supposed to have my back, sitting right there. And the kids I had no idea existed. I wanted to scream, I wanted to yell, but I just stood there, frozen. Samantha turned to look at me, her face going pale. David didn't even get up. He just sat there, his hands on his lap, looking guilty. This was supposed to be my homecoming, but instead, I was staring at a family that didn't even belong to me anymore. David and Samantha had built a life together, and I was just a stranger in the doorway. I confronted her later that night. I had to know. Why? Why had she done this? What happened to us? What happened to the life I was fighting for? I had to know. She looked at me and said, "Jared, I didn't know if you were ever coming back. It had been years. I was alone. David was there. He helped with the kids, the bills, everything. And one thing led to another. I had been gone fighting for my family, and she had moved on. She said she never meant to hurt me, but there was no going back. I didn't know who I was anymore. I thought I had been doing the right thing. I thought I was fighting for my family, for the life I had built. But instead, I came home to betrayal. I came home to a wife who had fallen in love with my best friend. I came home to a family I didn't even recognize. For days I couldn't sleep. I didn't eat. All I could think about was the years I had spent away, believing that when I came home, it would all be worth it. But now, all of it felt like nothing. I had fought wars. I had seen things I can't even describe. But none of that prepared me for the battle I was facing at home. How could I face them? How could I face myself? I spent so much time giving my life to others, my country, my family, my duty. But in the end, I never took time to care for myself. I was just lost. I started going to a veterans support group. I started running again. I picked up old hobbies that I had left behind. I started talking to people who understood, people who knew what it was like to fight battles, on and off the field. I started seeing a counselor. I started to talk about everything, the pain, the loss, the betrayal. It wasn't easy, but I realized something. The hardest battles are fought within yourself, and if you can survive that, you can survive anything. It took time, but I began to accept who I was. Not the man I was before, not the man I used to be, but the man I was becoming. I started to realize that I didn't need Samantha to feel whole. I didn't need David. I didn't need anyone to define me. I'm not who I was when I came home from war. But maybe that's okay, because I'm finally living for me. I'm living for myself, and that's a new beginning I'm proud of. I've learned a lot from everything that's happened. I've learned that it's okay to be angry, but it's not okay to let that anger control you. I've learned that it's okay to hurt, but it's not okay to let that hurt define you. And now, I'm helping others. I'm sharing my story with people who are where I was, lost, confused, and broken. If my story can help them find their way, then maybe everything I've been through will have been worth it. I never expected to forgive Samantha, but I realized I didn't have to. I just had to move on. And when I finally confronted her one last time, I told her everything I felt, the pain, the rage, but most of all, the disappointment. It's been years since all that happened. I've rebuilt my life, and I'm living for me now. I'm no longer defined by what happened. I'm defined by what I choose to become. If you've been betrayed, if you've been broken, you're not alone. The hardest part is looking inside and realizing that you have the power to move forward. It's time to fight the battle for your own life. I didn't know how to love again. After everything with Samantha, I was terrified. I couldn't trust anyone, not even myself. It felt impossible to open my heart to anyone again. I wanted to be open, to give love another chance. But every time I looked at her, I saw Samantha's face. I saw the lies, the hurt. I couldn't let go. I was afraid of being hurt again. I thought I could never love again. But after time, I realized it's okay to be afraid. What matters is whether you decide to try again or stay stuck in the past. I started to understand that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean accepting what happened, but it means you're no longer going to let it control you. It took me years to get to this point, but I've learned that moving on is a choice. I don't need anyone else to tell me who I am anymore. I choose peace. I choose happiness. I choose to live for myself. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that the hardest battles are within yourself. The world might knock you down, but only you can decide whether you stay down or get back up. I don't have all the answers, but I know this. You are not defined by your past. You are who you choose to be, and no one can take that away from you. I had to surround myself with people who really understood me, people who weren't caught up in the chaos of my past, but supported me in building my future. Old friends, veterans who had been through the same kind of battles. These were the people who gave me the strength to keep moving forward. I realized that friendship isn't just about good times. It's about the people who stand by you when you're broken. These friendships, this brotherhood, are what helped me rebuild myself. For a long time, I carried the weight of my past, the guilt, the betrayal, the anger, but I had to let it go. Forgiveness doesn't mean everything is okay, but it means you're free to move on. I let go of what I couldn't control. I stopped looking back at what could have been and started focusing on what I could build. And that made all the difference. I'm not the same person I was when I left for war, and I'm not the same person I was when I came back. But I've embraced who I am now, and that's okay. Sometimes the greatest enemy is the one inside us, the one that tells us we're not enough. But I've learned that I am enough. I always was. After everything that happened, I found purpose again. Not just in helping other veterans, but in giving back to the community, being there for others, and using my experiences to help those who are struggling. If I can help just one person realize they're not alone, then all of this, the pain, the betrayal, the loss, it was worth it. The future is still uncertain, but I've learned that I don't need to know all the answers right now. What matters is that I'm moving forward, and I'm not alone. I don't know what's next, but I'm excited to find out. This is my story, but it's not the end. It's just the beginning. If you're watching this, know that you have the power to change your story. No matter how much life hurts, no matter how much betrayal you face, you can always rebuild. I did, and so can you. It's never too late. The best part of life is still ahead.